Even, no, no. Okay, well, we go to the bottom of our agenda. Which is number 5A. And we'll open that up to.
I would say, our city attorney,
City attorney.
yes, should be able to
Land
address.
plot update.
Sure. So, we have had a comprehensive meeting with the FAA, not only the regional or the airport, but also at the basically to discuss what is left of the airport and spot transaction. They were very detailed in terms of what exactly they were looking for. Unfortunately, the previous appraisals that were done by Cooksey and Associates, there were some discrepancies in terms of the acreage lining up with the valuation, and that obviously raises a red flag with the FAA. All of those things need to be consistent across the board. So we have had to make some changes and supplement and amend the existing contractual agreements. I want to thank Kelly Douglas and Jeremy Alexander for working so cooperatively with the city on behalf of their client, Jeff Nations, to once again seek an addendum that would extend the closing date on the contract. We are almost there. It has been an exceptionally complex transaction, which Andrew and Matt can verify. I also want to thank Passero for really having my back on the details with this. Matt especially has just been absolutely wonderful in making sure that we're submitting an accurate package. The package has been transmitted to the FAA. I did receive from Ms. Clark confirmation yesterday that it was received, even though it was 2 weeks ago. But they have received it. You know, they're not moving quite as quickly as we would all like. But we have an extension through 90 days. We're really hoping, fingers crossed, that we can get this across the finish line by June 1st. I have transmitted the draft purchase and sale agreement over to our closing agent at Palatka Title and Abstract. So we're there. It just has to go through the FAA approval process on the last bit of this transaction. And I don't know, Matt, Andrew, if you want to add anything more in the context. Really, you don't want to weigh in on this really fun?
No color on that.
Right.
No comments other than a lot of effort, a lot of details. As you mentioned, if any description or area or dollar value doesn't line up on all the documents, the FAA stops the process. Very short.
Okay, so I'm gonna take the old terminal building report with Mr. Yule backing me up, hopefully. So definitely. So I just kind of wrote something out for myself so wouldn't miss some pertinent detail. And also Ms. West and Mr. Well, first of all, I want to thank the collaborative effort that's been embarked upon by Douglas Burns, Jeremy as well, city attorney and airport manager. So since that meeting in December 2024, what we realized is that airport operation has grown. And literally they need more space, they have more employees now. And as we dug into it, we realized that there were two items of correspondence. One had been directed to Mr. Jeff Nations back in August 2020, and there was another one to Mr. Russ, and also in 2020, October 2020. So both of them literally have been given some kind of indication on Jeff Nation's part of a interim use of the old terminal. And Russ's part, as he meets certain benchmarks, that he would then be able to move in as well. Now, therefore, Mr. Russ was extended a lease for where he is currently. Mr. Nations does not have a lease right now, but both are paying for the use of the premises. Mr. Russ had now met the stipulations that were extended to him back in 2020 and possibly have an inherent right of refusal, and it was stated that he does have the right of refusal for the old terminal by the prior airport manager. So what I did, once I figured all that out, I personally met with the airport manager to try to better understand the dynamics of all the moving parts and relationships and why we should be aware of this, that, and the other. I did also send the Public Works Director over here to see if it's possible to reconfigure this building to accommodate both the aviation use and airport manager's use. The cost factor for that was like more than 500,000 in order to do it. So I did also meet with Mr. Jeremy and with our city attorney to further discuss the matter. Mr. Alexander did assist us with saying, well, maybe we can put a modular building up and we could consider, aviation being there. That would give aviation more space from what they currently have, possibly 1,400. And he was going to pursue securing a modular building from the school board and see if we can roll with that. I did schedule a visit with the old terminal to figure out the usage and determine if there's compliance with FAA, because that was the main concern that the airport manager was expressing. We were not able to really determine that aviation usage. Legal did some research trying to figure it out as well. Subsequently, I met with, so I'm sharing with the board so you can know all the due diligence that we have been doing. I did meet personally with Mr. Russ. And not only did I meet him on the phone, but I met him personally with the airport manager. Again, he stipulated, look, I'm growing. I want to stay here, but I'm growing where he is now. The space is not adequate. He did not really say he wanted to be in the old terminal. He just pretty much said he would consider that modular option and he understood the need for the space. There was a review of the airport master plan. It does not include a modular building, even though our engineer did identify 3 possible placements for the modular building. And one of which Mr. Russ was pretty in agreement with. So there was a lease that was developed. We appreciate the Douglas firm. They did prepare a draft. However, the airport manager emphasized that we should use the standard lease format that had been provided to other tenants. So here's the point. Airport manager was given the assignment or task of trying to secure with me grants, not grants, but quotes for a modular building. If we had to go purchase it ourselves, preliminary quotes are like 75,000 minimum for a new one, 48,000 for a used one. So now here's my basic recommendation or suggestions. Looking at cost versus benefit and also meeting with the various commissioners, et cetera. I think we should continue the research that we are in the midst of. However, because, and only legal can help me more with this, because aviation correspondence from Mr. John UL does kind of give him the right, he has the first right to accept the usage of the old terminal once he has met those stipulations. This is where we are. Mr. Russ either have to accept that he's going to be the right of refusal. We need to offer it to him. This is me talking. Legal needs to perfect whatever I'm saying. But if Mr. Russ accepts the offer and says, look, after everything I think is best for me to utilize what was offered to me in October 2020 and move into the old terminal. If he accepts that, then we would then have to figure out or at least respond or speak with Mr. Nations or his representatives about the fact that the interim period has expired and that now airport needs that space for its operation, primarily for the usage of the aviation school. Then Mr. Airport Manager can do whatever he needs to do with minor renovations here for this building, moving his staff around to become more effective. Now, the cost is minimal. If Mr. Russ say he wants to move over to the old terminal, because it's not much to do. However, if Mr. Russ say, no, I don't need the old terminal, I like the idea of the module building, then we would pursue that. So this is the best that I can say to you all about the efforts that we have done collaboratively between all parties concerned. And I think that at this point, Airport Advisory Board and Airport Manager needs to determine what it is you all would like to have done. Yes, sir.
So the modular building, what space would that be? What size?
So our engineers here, he did give us ABC. And the one that, would you like to address it?
You said size, so about 1,400 square feet.
Right, 24 times 60.
And
1440.
they're currently in 14.
Square feet, currently 600, 700.
Yeah. So it would really double their space.
And the old terminal is what size?
I think it's about a little bit smaller, maybe.
Yeah.
The modular, not this, but the old terminal is double this size.
Okay.
So it's about 1,200, 1,300 or so. But the modular that we've got floor plans on, that kind of thing, is running about, I think, 1,475.
So my thinking was that we had this plan of innovation for the field, for the campus. And we have not included much on building expansion for operations. That maybe we should take the modular approach because it's temporary, we can always change it later. To allow for the flight school to the modular building. And we also want to keep our number one customer happy.
Right.
And so I wouldn't want to do anything to perturb that whoever's using the old terminal right now, because they're a good customer. They want to invest here. We want to keep them happy. And so by us spending $75,000, keeping the flight school going, and maybe we might even do something else, have two modular on our way to some other construction past 5 years or something like that. That's what I'm thinking. Anybody else can comment?
I'll jump in, best.
Yes, sir, please.
I agree with you 100%. And I don't think we should discount the idea of getting a modular, as I brought up before, from the school system. They have them that are going unused now. I went out and inspected it. May need a little paint on the outside to freshen up, but on the inside, they're fine. They're classrooms, and I'm assuming that's what they need next door. But I don't know if that's not viable to use something from the school system. If it's not, then so be it.
May I add something?
Sure.
One of the reasons why the modulars from the school system might be a little hesitant for us to utilize here is because they didn't have restrooms. That was the only item of concern, the restrooms. But if we can, get a modular from the school system that have the restrooms, and I did meet with Mr. Alexander.
Yeah.
And he did show me how from one stage of the way how it looks when you first see it, and then after the school board improves it, how nice it looks. But the key factor for why we started researching independently was that it did not have restroom facilities.
May I ask a question to the guest?
Please.
Jeremy, they didn't have one at the restroom?
I guess they don't currently, that if we had been a year ago asking, we had numerous ones, but I guess with the jockeying of facilities and students, they've managed, actually the one we visited, was at Price Middle School.
Yeah.
And there's potentially another one coming offline, in the next 6 to 8 months, but it also doesn't have restrooms.
Okay.
To Ms. Carty's point. But I think what we're trying to do is find out, to your point, the best option, and restrooms being the need that I think everybody has been trying to figure out how we do that. But
Thank you,
I hope
Jeremy.
we can figure it out.
Where would it be placed on
That's what I was gonna say next. You wanna tell them that part?
So, when working with, Matt, you know, they identified 3 locations. East of this building, west of this building, immediately west of this building, and the block over here coming through the main gate to the right. It's right there in front of, Whiskey 3 or the MRO, sellers. So we identify locations. And, you know, the sensitivity piece of it is this is a customer is coming off the land side onto air side. So which spot works better, or which spot will create the least amount of impact? So if they can come through the gate, go right into the facilities, perfect, you know? They got a parking area out here, or if we do the west side of this building, you know, very similar setup. I think the third location out here in front of the sellers may be somewhat problematic because there's not an established gate there.
I would agree.
And 2, parking is going to be a little tricky. So, you know, if we were to go down this scenario, you know, east and west here immediately. And actually there was even, there was a west side spot, land side, and then there was a west side spot adjacent to the old terminal building. You know, so you look at the dimensions of the modular, the modern modular, you know, it gives that perfect set. It also gives sidewalks. It gives access to the ramp immediately out front. So, you know, I don't think the location is a challenge. Frankly, I think that's really a good spot to kind of work through when we get there. But it's just, as Ms. Carter stated, you know, it's always tough to deal with historical projects, you know, that predates you, but you still got to work through them. I value the flight school here because I think what he has accomplished, you don't see very often in today's aviation. And, you know, he's a business guy. You know, I met with him in the second meeting, you know, and, you know, what he communicated, you know, I feel pretty good about, but I want to leave the meeting a little bit more
Confident.
confident, because again, you know, if he can't grow here, he's not gonna stay here. And that's just being realistic. That's a businessman's decision, and that's what's communicated. So, I'm on board with trying to figure out, sorry, sir, just one quick second here. The cost of this, okay, okay. The cost of this, because that modular there's a cost associated with it.
Yes, it is.
And the airport, as an airport manager, I'm sensitive to cost.
I got you.
And, you know, obviously trying to make sure that our flight school, our established flight school here, stick with us. So,
Yes, sir, Mr.
I just want, in principle, I want to remind everybody that a flight school is, I hadn't heard anything about education or anything until she mentioned first, when she was going over her material there. And we have a principal obligation, you know, to make sure that young people get the benefit of the doubt. Or, you know, 25 years from now, we're not gonna have any pilots.
That's right.
And so we need to get that in our minds, you know, that is part of education, you know, and we do need, if we don't train pilots, not gonna have pilots.
Right.
we got 25 coming out tomorrow
Great.
from the school.
See, I'm, that's what I believe in.
Yep, yep.
That modular building, is that 1 piece or 2 pieces?
It was one piece. That's very, very attractive.
Now,
We do have
It's
One
pictures.
question is,
Now, why is?
to the aesthetics of the airport that we
20 by
established.
60.
24 by
I think that'd be
60.
24 in one piece.
It has to be 2 pieces.
Oh,
Yeah, I think Ms. Carty,
It is.
refer to it, but the aesthetics, I
Comes
think
together.
maybe that's not that important in the grand scheme of things, but I think
Ain't going
we've
down.
established a beautiful airport.
Without
with
doubt.
Right.
Beautiful aesthetics, and it
Right.
needs to fit on the
Absolutely.
campus.
And that has been shared in the collaborative meetings,
Right,
that one of the key pieces, we got some unique customers that come in and out of here, and they don't need to be disappointed in the visual of this, so.
Are you,
Go ahead, Arthur. You're first.
are you looking for a recommendation from us?
Well, we already, is there any further comment?
Public
comment on this. We don't mind either. You want to go first?
I'll let Charlie go.
Charlie, go first.
As long as it's the right time.
It is the right time.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Charlie Douglas. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Nations, who currently occupies the old terminal building. And he would echo the sentiments around the room today, which is that we're looking for a collaborative win-win. We have spent a lot of time and we appreciate all the effort that the advisory board has put into this. I think we're on our 5th meeting now regarding this topic, and we have charted a path forward. And we have honored that path forward, and we have poured in a lot of our own resources and time to help support the vision of this advisory board today, up to today. And this is a stunning development, I must admit, because we have been aware of the emails before. And it seems that this email chain is now resurfacing after that train has left the station from 5 meetings ago. And for now to hear for the first time, after all the ink that has been spilled on this, that we're now backtracking to allow for a exercise of a right of first refusal that in our legal opinion does not exist, and Mr. Nations would vehemently disagree with, that is the request. That today the request is to exercise a right of refusal that we have known about 5 meetings ago, that the Airport Advisory Board has charted a path forward on a true win-win situation that we have been in communication with Mr. Russ, and we agree with the advisory board that it is about the kids and the students. And as someone who took their very first flight lesson at this airport myself, I support too, and Mr. Nation supports, and he has a lot of people in his family who are taking lessons too. So I want to continue on Mr. Nation's behalf. I just want to express his appreciation for the progress we've already made through these 5 meetings. We want to stay on that path of progress. We will help continue to support the city on sourcing an economical version, and I can assure you, we've already found an option that is far less than $48,000 and is certainly far less than the $70,000. We also support a strong aesthetic. We want the look to be very positive and you only get one chance to make a first impression. And we want that first impression to be a positive one. Mr. Nation supports that, and I know Mr. Russ supports that. And just to clear up one misconception is that the old FBO is not twice the size of this. The old FBO is also comprised of a kitchen area and 2 restrooms that has not been considered into the calculation. So with the modular, it is a true win-win. Mr. Russ is, from my understanding, very supportive of a modular. He's willing to go in there. And on the cost side too, I certainly respect that. We don't want to cost the airport any additional money. We want to promote entrepreneurship and businesses, and I don't see how the win-win solution that we've been working toward over the last 5 meetings is a departure from that.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much for your
So,
consideration.
Charlie, thank you for all you do for Palatka and for our airport. And I remember when you took your first lesson. I do. It was a while ago.
I remember my airplane.
That's right. It wasn't on the airplane. Exactly right.
Yeah, but thank you.
Would a solution be 2 modulars?
Oh,
Maybe. All right, go ahead, ma'am.
no, I was just gonna agree with Charlie that we have been, Mr. Douglas, that we have been working very much collaboratively. And that our desire is also win-win. But I do think it's important that we have new members, such as myself even, to bring all the information to the table so that we can ensure that we're moving in the right path for all concerned. That was my intent
Thank you.
today.
We might be ready for you, sir.
Well, so, that was part of my question of asking, is it 1 piece or 2 piece? And that,
That 24,000.
if moving the flight school into the modular with the possibility that we could put another modular there if they need it, or if somebody else needed it. You know, so that if we needed some temporary expansion for operations that, you know, we could put another modular there or whatever to accommodate each server. Something before we can actually get to some building. So that was just a question, not part of the discussion today. But I was wondering, did you need a motion? You were gonna say something.
Actually, I still agree with you that, you know, I'm 100% in favor of the flight school. I think a modular with the proper aesthetics, like has been mentioned, would go. But we also have to remember who we came to the dance with, and we've had a very long-term good attendant that we have to keep in mind when we make these decisions. Thank you, sir.
So the last comment I'll make about it is, understand the right of first refusal, but I would say also, when we're talking about economic development, we look at the impact across the board.
Yep.
And Mr. Nations has had a impact across the board that we want to recognize, and that's not to discount the right of first refusal, but it's just to say that we have to weigh that against it. So if he needs to stay over there, okay, stay over there. It's my point. With that, I would recommend that we make a recommendation to the city to purchase or to however they would like to procure a modular system for the airport to use for a 3-year or 4-year. So whatever the airport manager says properly. That's my recommendation.
We have a recommendation, we have a
I'll
second.
second that wholeheartedly.
Well, what is it? I like to hear the motion again. I want to make sure I understand the motion.
That we recommend to the city to procure a modular system, 1,400 square feet or better, for use by the flight school. And the city manager determines the lease terms. City manager, the airport manager determines the length of time, whether it fits into master plan and so forth. So
Is that the first step? In other words, are we gonna leave it there? We're gonna go some more?
We can
Are
go,
we satisfying both customers?
we are.
We're satisfying both, and you're satisfied? All right.
Yes.
We
All
have a
right, so we
second.
have a motion and a second.
Before we go further, with your scenario, and maybe it's an internal conversation, considering this is an unbudgeted item, again, I'm sensitive to costs.
I
So
agree.
at the end of the
Let's keep
day,
going.
yeah, so at the end of the day, $75,000, $50,000 is a lot of money. Okay,
for us, yes.
it's a lot of money. So, you know, if we don't continue to research this and try to figure out what's the best solution, great. But I don't want to be strapped. The airport doesn't need to be strapped with another expense.
Right.
Because we got some surplus dollars that we identified
Mhm.
improvements out here.
Mhm.
And for a project like this, I really think we need to look at minimizing the impact of the cost on the airport, because we worked hard to clean the finances up.
I totally agree.
Can I?
Yes.
Okay, so, man.
Yeah.
All right, so, what I think I want to bring back to everybody's memory is when Mr. Alexander and I met, and Mr. Charlie both kind of gave an assurance that they were willing to assist, I think, or, so I'm feeling like, we may not have to spend that money.
Great.
Can you address that? Can either of you address that?
I
I'm
guess
just out of
I don't
curiosity.
know what I'm addressing. I guess what I'll
Whether or not-
address first is that if you're moving someone out, he's not staying anywhere, you're not gonna have his revenue anymore. So, you know what I mean? If the flight school goes to the old FBO, you're gonna lose that revenue stream. Because I think they currently have a lease, right? So there's also not just an expense, there's a
Mhm.
revenue, an income piece that we have to
Exactly.
weigh into the equation in addition to the expense piece of the equation. I don't know what his lease term is, but I think if we'll look at it holistically, to your point, there's probably an answer that makes sense.
I think what I was trying to figure out is, Mr. Douglas, are you all committing also to helping us with the modular building? That's what I'm asking. Because if we purchase one new, then we're looking at this big amount. If we purchase one used, and we're looking at another amount. And in our meetings, what we had came up with was we're gonna go to the school board, see if we can get one from them. Now I'm thinking that the school board option may not be a feasible option. So we are going to have to purchase is what I'm thinking. Is there any, desire on Jeff Nations, who you're representing part, to contribute to that cost? That's what I think I
We'll
am.
take it back to the client and get final confirmation on a precise number, but
Okay,
yes, and the initial budgeting that we had seen was a lot. I have not heard those numbers at 75, 48, but that is definitely outside the ballpark of what we were anticipating originally.
I understand.
And with depending on which of the three locations the airport chooses, it may not be as critical that the modular has restroom facilities inside of it or not.
Okay,
I mean, if you're gonna put them far away from the main FBO, but you know, here, Mr. Yule can speak to this more, but there's not a huge demand on the current facilities.
So we have a motion and we have a second. Yes, sir.
I just want to bring up one more technical point because I know that it's going to come up in the future. And Charlie just mentioned the issue of the restroom and the proximity to this building. If at some point there's going to be a building permit to put the new building onto the airport. And I just want everybody to understand that the issue of a restroom, is a restroom required or not, is absolutely going to come up as a part of that permitting process with the building official, which is going to be somebody who works for the city of Palatka. If we can start right now, even have an early discussion to try and connect the new building to this terminal to the east, all the way down to the address and the description that it's an annex to this building, and the restrooms that are right behind us are gonna serve for the restrooms of that building. It's a very critical piece to do right now so that we don't have to have restrooms inside the modular that might not have them right now, because that would be a very significant cost, and even be a question of whether or not you could even permit and even place it here. Would it even be possible? So I'm just bringing up the restroom issue right now, because it's gonna come up very quickly, it's very expensive in the context of the project cost that we're talking about. And
Just for
It's also
clarification,
limited
that is not an
approach.
internal decision with the city. The building department is with Putnam County. We don't have an internal building.
Okay,
So that all makes good sense. So we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion?
I just want to remind everybody, you know, all we're doing is we're making a
We
recommendation.
are,
The city commission and the city manager, they still got to make this decision.
but we hope that they hear us clear.
They have always listened before. It would be good if they continue.
So we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
All right,
Motion carried. Oh, well, any opposed? No, motion carried. Thank you.
So can I get some clarification, because I'll be probably putting this on, I'll be tasked with putting this on the city commission agenda. Is there a dollar figure that you're going to associate with this particular recommendation?
I think that'll take a little research, and I think Andrew has a good scope on how to do that.
Well, his contribution was restrooms.
Yep.
And his contribution was, we don't want to saddle ourselves with something, you know, that's going to really get into the airport's residual, you know.
Yep. So I think it's easily solvable. And I think that's what community does. Community works together and we all give a little.
Okay, so this will not, based on my experience with this city commission, I don't think it's prudent to place it on the agenda for their consideration until we have a hard number that they can work with, because that's the first question they're going to ask, and if we're not able to answer it, it's silly to place it on the agenda.
That's politics on y'all.
right,
Right.
and we can try to be prudent and efficient and effective, and less timeline getting a dollar amount. Because, it may not, like, as Ms. West is saying, we may not be able to put this on that April 10th agenda, but we will strive to have it on the 24th.
You
Okay?
just need the city
So that gives
commission.
us our timeline for trying to figure out the money, even from contributory status for destinations, and whether or not we can take the school board option and ignored this whole bathroom thing, which I know we cannot, so we'll pursue that as well.
I had a question. So in this research, did the cost involve the cost of moving and placing these facilities?
Installation, yes, ma'am, was included.
And I think
And
part
this is
of
a
this,
purchase or a lease that y'all would?
We can decide that subsequently. At this point, we were just trying to get a better understanding of cost if we had to go out and purchase it. And we wanted to bring this in this.
Well, I agree with
setting.
Ms. West. I mean, this could take a million different forms and, in my experience at the college, leasing those facilities, it's very expensive to lease them for a short term, but based on the tenant's revenue, I mean, that could balance out. Obviously, it's
Exactly.
gonna cost money to expand this facility to house RN staff.
Mhm.
So there's a cost that the city's gonna have to absorb
Yes,
that's appropriate.
I agree.
But we do want to protect our tenants and the revenue and the businesses.
Yes.
As chairman now, are you satisfied that we have, we've met our burden so far as pleasing both parties?
I believe so, sir. I do. and I
Does anybody have any
commend
comment about this here?
I commend.
I'm
everybody.
satisfied. I feel a lot better than I did when I came in.
Thank you. And
And I think, Judge, that it's a very important, whenever this is in front of the commission, that you be there to represent us.
I will. I will do that. And I thank you all for your participation. And none of these things are easy, but they're very important.
And remind the commission, that this asset out here is a great thing.
Yes, I
They
will.
don't need to,
Mess it up.
one of them goes after something, we need to know who it is.
Thank you, sir. All right, any other comments before we close?
one last
Yes.
thing. Read your package, it's really good information in there.
There is,
And-
there's some good numbers.
And the numbers I saw also reflect an increased number in the helicopter taking off
Yes, sir.
landings here. Thank you
So
very much.
Listen,
might have something to do with that.
Charlie, I didn't ask for your comment.
listen, what
Charles makes helicopters legitimate.
Before we close, next meeting, we will put the part, we skipped the last two meetings at the top, okay?
There
So
you go.
we will get to it. Thank you very much, everyone. And please get a plate to go. We can take a sandwich. We don't want to take all the food if I away.
You did good.
Pleasure to meet you. Welcome. Yeah, we want to. Okay.